Welcome to the Top Dog Mindset Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of running a successful dog training business. I'm your host, Kevin, joined by my co-host, Angel. Together, we bring you expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical tips. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we're here to provide you with the necessary information to build a thriving dog training company. So relax, join us with a cup of coffee as we explore the Top Dog Mindset Podcast.
All right, welcome back, everyone.
Hello.
So this is going to be a quick call today, just because Angel and I spent the last half hour talking about just bizarre stuff and serial killers and John Wayne Gacy and Jeffrey Dahmer and stuff like that. So we'll spare you guys that conversation, unless that's something you want to hear about, in which we could talk about that. But
I'd be happy to.
yeah, that may be more entertaining than just talking about how to sell dog training. But yeah, so this is going to be a really quick call. And I think what we're going to talk about today is, this will probably tie in a little bit with the last call, actually, but something that came up that Angel just suggested was, for a couple of our clients, they've been mentioning maybe feeling a little bit burned out and feeling like, maybe not having the success that they once were having. And something that we've kind of identified as one of the contributing factors to that is, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. I think the best way to say it is, if you're feeling burned out and you're not getting the success that you want, it may be because you've just kind of lost ambition. You've lost your mojo. You've lost kind of whatever it is that was driving you in the first place. And that can be kind of coming off to your clients. They can be feeling that, and something may have changed along the way in your business. So Angel, I feel like you can do an even better job articulating what I'm trying to say here. So why don't you take it over and kind of explain what you were getting at?
Yeah, well, the specific conversations that we've had recently really come down to it seeming like they're losing the personal touch when it comes to selling their programs. And that's something that we got down to just by asking a ton of questions. When we're talking sales and specifically doing these one-on-one calls, we always get very detailed in what is your process. Tell me how a consultation goes for you from the moment that you walk in the door all the way through, how do you have things structured out? How long is each specific conversation? All that kind of stuff. And I think that would be really beneficial to ask yourself that and compare it to a time when consults were going really, really well. But what I mean by losing that personal touch is what you said, when you feel like you're losing your mojo or, losing ambition or getting burnt out with the work or whatever it is. I think that people can go into the consultation just wanting to get straight to business. Go right in there. Okay, I see the dog. I see what's going on with the dog. Tell me a little bit more about what's going on with the dog. Here's a program. Here's the price. I can help you, blah, blah, blah. You're getting way too quick into trying to make the sale versus this is something that I talked about in our group coaching call the other day, I believe, where it's you want to go into the consultation with the goal of, I'm going to build a relationship with this person. That's the most important thing, So we could go down a rabbit hole of sales and all that kind of stuff, but I think it all ties into both sales and the burnout with it and stuff like that. But like I said, that's, I think, the main thing that I've really noticed lately is people just kind of losing that personal touch to the consultations and just trying to get straight into business talk.
Yeah, because it's easy when you first start to be motivated and hungry and, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, as they would say. Add it to the list, okay? But I think that as time goes on, you can kind of lose that, it kind of loses its luster. The initial shine kind of wears off, right? Where you're it's just kind of the same thing every day. And that can get really boring. And again, that kind of I would just say, go back to our last video where we talk all about hiring and all the benefits. Maybe that was 2 videos ago. I can't remember now, but it's in the group somewhere, I promise. But, go back to that video and listen to all that stuff. But what I think this really comes down to is you got to find a way to manufacture that. And you can't, if you are not having the success that you once had, it's very easy to start looking at external factors and going like, the economy has changed, or it's just the time of the year, or whatever it may be, you know? But
Yeah.
the truth is like, I'm not saying that's not a factor. Of course, like there's seasonality and the economy can affect things. But what I really want everybody to think about is like, there are people in your market, if you're struggling right now, that are selling dog training and they're doing it really well. And
Yeah.
there's always, not, I'm not trying to strike fear into anybody, but I think that it is just important to think about that, like, there is a you out there right now from when you were first getting started out. And that's like what you're competing against, you know? And so it's so easy as you get a little bit, you know, as you grow in your business and maybe you get a little bit more jaded to be like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do in-person consultations. I don't want to have to talk to that person over the phone. They don't seem like really a quality lead or whatever it is. But there's people out there who are just going to jump at the opportunity. And if that's what you're up against and that's what you're competing against, if you're the business who doesn't want to do those things and then there's somebody out there who's willing to do those things, you're going to have a hard time. And so again, that may be a good opportunity to hire somebody if you're really feeling burnt out and you feel like I just can't do this one more time. Then you have two options. Either you let it go and you just kind of, you know, let it be the way that it's going to be and deal with the frustration of that, or you hire somebody to do it. So Angel, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're right. And also, when it comes to burnout, there's so many other things you can do. Like, obviously, like you mentioned, hire someone for help or, find other ways to have like more productive time throughout your day as far as like getting like the admin stuff taken care of. Find balance in, like your personal and work life, whether that means like take like a self-care day or whatever. Like this is all stuff that
Yeah.
we've talked about, but for the sake of talking about sales and like I mentioned before, potentially like losing that personal touch in your consult process. Um, Earlier I mentioned asking yourself about like every detail of your consult process
Hmm.
and like really think about every detail because this conversation that you and I had with one of our good clients, like he told us his whole consult process and it seemed pretty good. Like we were kind of like picking at everything, trying to get down to the bottom of like what they're not doing. So then we asked what your consult process used to look like when you were making sales, and it sounded almost the same, but I think there was like one little step that was off, and it was like the one step where it's kind of like you're sitting down and really like having an emotional conversation with the client. So that's what I mean is like ask yourself every little step. Where are these consultations taking place? Do you live in an area where it's like 30 degrees and the only times you do consults is like when they meet you like at a park or something? That might
Yeah.
not be very comfortable for that client. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus you going to
100%.
their home and being in their home with them. Other things can play a huge factor of like maybe the dog being out loose running around during the consultation. That for me personally was um a huge game changer whenever I started asking the client to put the dog away because I'd have dogs just standing there barking at me or jumping on me or running all along the couch, and the client is already stressed out about their dog's behavior. That's why they called me. And so now they're anxious about their dog's behavior in front of this professional trainer. And
Yeah.
so it was very distracting for them and really took away from our own conversation. So I started having them put the dog up or ask yourself how long is my consultation, and if you say 30 minutes, well, you're not spending enough time in the consult because like I said, you really need to make it a goal to build a relationship with this client. And I don't think going into someone's house, building a whole relationship, evaluating the dog's behavior and
Yeah.
selling them on a program that's thousands of dollars like is going to get done in 30 minutes. So,
No, absolutely not.
even if there's things that like you feel are, working just fine or whatever, like really nitpick your whole process and ask yourself if that is something that you think is feasible when trying to sell like a $4,000 package or something like that.
Yeah, what I always think about on that topic is like there is effectively nothing in life other than maybe like, you know, the cure to like a venomous snake bite that I would be like be like willing to just process a payment over the phone, for something in a matter of like a couple minutes. Like it's so easy for us in our own businesses to just think like, well, I do a really good job. I offer a really good service. Everybody who works with me tends to be happy and get their dog trained. So why wouldn't you just want to sign up for your 4-week board and train? And it really
Hmm.
comes down to it's because it's not a logical purchasing decision. It's entirely emotional. And again, there's really nothing in life that outside of something that's so dire that somebody's going to die right now if they don't, get this resolved, that they're going to be willing to pay thousands of dollars after a 5-minute conversation. It needs to unfold over a longer period of time. It's just a
Hmm.
fact. Like we've studied this very closely. If your consultations are lasting less than like 45 minutes, like in the home, you're probably not giving yourself the opportunity to build rapport. And I
Yeah.
just want to touch on something real quick too, kind of getting to the crux of this entire thing. It's easier. Well, let me start. It's easier to start a business, ramp things up, start having some success, and start running into roadblocks, and then just say to yourself, like, oh, I'm burned out. I'm going to go do something else. Right. The really successful entrepreneurs in life don't do that. They work through bigger and bigger problems, and they're able to like have like whatever you want to call it, mental toughness or something like that, to like when things start getting boring and hard, to keep pushing through and find a way
Hmm.
to build it. You're never going to build $1 million company if that's your goal. I know that's not everyone's goal, but if you want to have a really successful company, you're never going to get there and catch lightning in a bottle just because you're like starting a new thing every like year and a half or something like that.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
always starts reaching a point where it gets difficult and you have bigger problems to fix, more complex problems to fix. And if you just stick it out, you'd be surprised at like, what happens when you get on the other side of those problems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, so we're right at 1 o'clock here, but I got one
Hmm.
question for you, okay?
Yeah.
So before we started this, we were trying to figure out what we're going to talk about for today, just because we had a topic, guys, I promise, and it just got totally derailed. So kind of staying online with that, just going to rattle off a couple questions to you here, and I want to get your response, okay? And I promise,
Okay.
like, Angel has not heard these before, or at least I didn't feed you these before we
I'm
got started.
scared.
All right. No, it's not going to be anything insane, okay? Is a hot dog a sandwich, or is it its own existential category of food?
I think it's its own category of food.
Okay, what would you categorize that as? What would that be?
I feel like it's more along the realm of like, like loaded fries or nachos, like where you have like the main thing and then it's topped off.
Yeah.
So I think, I think the bun is the main thing, and then it's topped
Well,
off.
wait, so you think the bun is the star of the show in a hot dog?
Yeah, I've never really thought about that until now, but you can
Yeah.
have a bun
I
and then
mean, that's
top
a
it
hot
off.
take.
You
That's a
can top
really
it off
hot
with a
take.
hot dog, or you can top it off with meatballs, or I've never had anything else in a hot dog bun.
Yeah, so meatballs on a hot dog. Is that what you're saying? Meatballs on a hot dog? Or are you saying like meatballs on a bun?
On a bun.
Okay. All right. That's a different thing. I was like, that is like a heart attack waiting to happen. If you're like, toss some chili on there too. All right. Here's the next question. If ghosts can walk through walls, why don't they fall through the floor? So like, let's just get this out there first. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Okay. So why can they walk through walls, but why don't they fall through the floor?
Who says they can't fall through a floor?
Well, the question is like the way that they're portrayed in Hollywood, I guess, is like why aren't they constantly falling through the floor? And for that matter, why aren't they falling through the earth? You know?
That's true.
You
I
know?
mean, I think that they can fall through the floor, but
Okay.
movies probably just don't portray that.
All right, so it's all about the intention, right? It's like
Yeah.
they're choosing not to fall through the floor. And I would even say like in most depictions of a ghost, they're typically levitating,
Yeah.
right? So like they're kind of levitating above the floor, so that kind of
Yeah.
like doesn't really make sense anyway. Okay, so here's the next one. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it become self-conscious about making noise?
I don't think that trees are capable of,
Consciousness?
yeah, having that type of like emotion or consciousness.
Okay.
I mean, I know they're like living, breathing things, but I don't,
Organisms, yeah.
yeah, I don't think they're capable of emotions and all
Of
that.
like becoming like self-aware and like
Yeah,
realizing I'm a tree and I just fell, you know?
yeah,
But on that point, like if a tree falls in a forest and no one's around to hear it, doesn't make a noise.
it does make a noise.
You think it definitely makes a noise. Okay.
I think so.
I think so too. I mean, how could it not? You know, like
Yeah,
if you think that, then you have to kind of think that we're living in a simulation or something like that. And it's almost like that wasn't necessary to load in the simulation. Like it wasn't necessary for like that noise to even load and occur because it just like wasn't important enough to like the rest of what's going on. See what I mean?
yeah, that's a wild way to think of it.
Yeah, I personally don't think we're living in a simulation. I want to make that very clear. But I do know some really smart people. One guy in particular, a friend of mine, who was telling me how, this idea is it almost seems like, okay, this is what people talk about when they sit around and like smoke pot and like, whoa, dude, we're living in a simulation. But there are very intelligent like scientists who have devoted their lives to trying to figure that out or not. So it's not as silly as it may seem on the surface.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to hear about like the people who are talking about that kind of stuff. Like I'd be interested to hear everything because I wouldn't say that I'm like a conspiracy theorist or like anything like that. But if I do come across a video like that, there's like videos like that on TikTok and whatnot, like it does get me thinking,
Yeah.
but it's not
Why don't
going
you
to
just come out
convince
and
me right
say,
away.
why don't you just come out and say it and explain to everybody why the earth is flat? All right, let's do one more and then I got to run, okay?
All right.
So, let's see here. Okay. Here's a good one. If your shirt is tucked into your pants, is it also true that your pants are tucked into your shirt? No, absolutely
And
not.
my pants are no,
It's not. That's not even like worth discussing. That is so stupid.
no.
Okay, let's get one more because we can't end on that. Okay, so okay, here's a good one. If tomatoes are fruits, does that make ketchup a smoothie?
That's gross
Yeah.
to think about.
And the answer,
Also,
I don't think so.
yeah, no, also I know tomatoes are fruits, technically, I guess, but I don't refer to them as fruits.
Yeah, it's kind of just like an unspoken thing. You know what I mean? It's like we just know that's like, okay, it's a
Yeah,
technicality, but it's
yeah.
not really true. I don't want to
Yeah.
live in a world where like a tomato is actually a fruit. Plus, like, you don't cook smoothies. I'm pretty sure ketchup is cooked, if I'm getting that right.
I think so, because I think it's like mostly it's like made from a tomato paste. And I think in order to make tomato paste, you have to like it goes through like a cooking process. I don't know.
Yeah, and then there's other things added to it, like vinegar, I think, and stuff like that. Or maybe I'm
Yeah.
thinking of barbecue sauce. No, there's definitely vinegar in ketchup too. But
Yeah,
if you
vinegar,
if you have
salt.
made ketchup, drop it in the comments whether I'm totally far off base on this or not.
Yeah. But yeah, like vinegar, salt, pepper, stuff like that. I would absolutely not put on like a strawberry, like an
Yeah,
actual fruit.
exactly. I'm not putting like a banana mango, smoothie on my cheeseburger. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
So like
No.
that right there is like the solidifying argument that it's not a smoothie. Okay. All right. Well, listen, this was a fun call, but we have something really fun coming for you guys next week, and then the week after that too. We're having somebody very special on, or that's the plan. And so stay tuned, and we will see you guys all very soon in the next one. See you guys.
Yep. Bye, guys.